All right, hello everyone. So today I'm stepping into the role of supplier data onboarding manager. What a nightmare, but we'll see what we can do here. So I'm responsible for onboarding data from the business's suppliers into Bluestone PIM and then onwards to the econ. And in this business, we have a few ways of doing this depending on the maturity of the suppliers in terms of their technology. We, using Bluestone PIM, are obviously ready to take data in any way, shape, or form, preferably APIs, where we can automate a lot of things. But as you can see here, I have a few different ways of ingesting the data from the supplier. So on the left here, I'm monitoring our connected suppliers. So this is via API that they connect and send us data updates. And I have this widget here to just monitor these connections directly to the data source of the supplier. And this is convenient because I can just, for example, run a sync and see what updates are coming through from the suppliers. There is no manual importing flat files or anything like that. So this helps a lot when it comes to the speed of getting data into the system. And then there can of course still be issues with the data. We don't stop everything just because things are not in place, because we want to be able to complete that also in the PIM. So if you see here, we're missing some GTM values for some of the new products from supplier D. And there are some issues with image resolutions that we need to look at. Of course, the option would have been to also maybe stop this on the way into the PIM, but we choose here the logic to import it and then handle these issues with either manual work or AI in the solution. Then here we have a warning for any supplier data issues. This I use for my more legacy suppliers, so the ones that provide me flat files where I have to import them into the system using the built-in flat file importer in Bluestone. This is my least favorite, but there will always be those suppliers as well that just send flat files, usually in different formats, and we need to do some work on those. But here I will see any issues with those imports after I have imported the products. And then the supplier updates to review. This is a third kind of supplier. It is the one that I give them access to the PIM. So it's kind of a self-service kind of thing where they can see the products in the PIM and they can do changes. And I just need to monitor them here and see what updates they are requesting to the products. So again, three different kinds of suppliers. The technically advanced kind that has integrated directly to my Bluestone PIM and can send data directly. I can monitor it with my widget here. Then we have the legacy supplier that provides me flat files, and I'm going to import those files. We're going to see an example today. And then we have the somewhere in between, and these suppliers I give access to the PIM, to a simplified version of the PIM, where they can make updates directly in the PIM UI themselves and suggest those changes to me, and I can see them here, review them, and so on before I publish them. Okay, so the more advanced supplier here, you already seen how we can fetch imports from their systems. But let's move over to the legacy one, because this is the one that takes the most hours from me to manage. And today they have sent me some new files, images, and some Excel files with new data for this season. So I need to onboard it so that we can start selling these products. I will start with the images. So I will just drag and drop them into here. I've received 3 SKU images for these new products. Just importing them. All right, so the media is imported. Now I'm gonna import the files, the flat file with the product data. So I'm just gonna drag and drop the file that they sent over to me. There we go. And let's see how the system can map this. And this supplier always sends the data with different headers than what we work with. So for example, we see here that we have the color/design is what they call this column. In Bluestone, we have named this attribute just color family. So of course I can remap here and I can do this for all the attributes and save these mappings, no problem. But since I always receive the same kind of files from this supplier, I've just saved it here so I can reuse my mapping for supplier A. And there we go. So now you can see that we're ready to import from here. So now that we head back here to our dashboard, we can see that we have two new issues here. So this is related to the data we just imported then. So the dashboard is telling us there's something we need to take a look at here. So we jump in here and we see that these two new products, they have automatically gotten the image map to them and so on. Everything looks good. But let's take a look here at the product data here and see what might be wrong. Okay, so typical issue here for supplier data, there's a unit issue, right? We're measuring the weight in gram here, and here we can see that we get a 2300 here. Seems to be a decimal error, right? And this seems to be correct unit, but in our system here for weight, we have chosen to store in integer, whereas here we can see that this data came as a decimal. So the system will tell us here that we prefer an integer value here for weight. This is of course something that is up to the organization if you want to allow decimals or we want to force integers here. So now I can fix this. Either of course I can do it just manually here like that, but another way is to use AI to clean this up. This one I will do manually, and then we can see an example of the AI. Alright, so to see the result of our AI analysis, so we have something called the AI Analyst. It comes with these reports for your product data, and I can view the report here. I'm gonna filter on reliability score. I only want to see the results that the AI is fairly sure about or very sure about. So I filter everything about 9 out of 10 reliability. And then we can see here for our urban cloud slide in the slate color, it has indeed found this issue with the weight, and it suggests that we should change it from 2300 down to 230, basically removing that additional 0. And we can see here as well that the AI's reasoning behind this. The weight is now set to 2300. Other similar products have it set to 230. This suggests an extra 0 was added, which is correct in terms of a finding here, right? We can see more details as well, but we choose to make this change. You can imagine when you have a lot of supplier data at the same time, you will have a lot of suggestions for improvements if there are errors in that data, and it can be things like category assignments, fixing errorness, or just data inconsistencies that the AI will find and then fix for you. So big time saver, this one for a catalog manager or supplier data manager. Okay, so now we can just confirm here that our weights are correct, and the data in general from this import seems good now. Taking a look here on the side, we can see I've set up a category tree for my different suppliers that I'm onboarding. I have my 2 legacy suppliers where I import and I approve or reject the products that they send to me. And then we have suppliers C and D that are more technically advanced, and I use APIs, and you saw that dashboard where I can also monitor those integrations and trigger the import. And then we have supplier E here, which we're going to get to now. That is more of a self-serve type of supplier. So first I'm going to switch over so that you see what they see when they log in. So they have access to Bluestone PIM, but a very limited version, of course. So they only see their products that they are supplying, and they only see certain attributes that we want them to be able to edit. So here on the dashboard, they can see that their input is needed on some products. I click in here, and these are the products then where an update is needed from the supplier. Remember, now I'm viewing this as the supplier. I'm not viewing this any longer as the catalog admin or data onboarding manager. So the supplier can click into the the shoe here, for example, and enter in a weight. So in this case, we enter in a weight. We can also, for example, if we need to change the color or something like that, we can do it. But you can see it's very limited in terms of what I'm seeing here. And then I can send that for approval. So now we're gonna see here that the status is updated for this product. And if we again now switch back to the catalog and the supplier data manager, we see here that we have gotten rid of those previous supplier data issues from the manual import, but now instead we have a supplier update to review from this self-serve supplier. So clicking in here, so taking a look here, we see that this is the product that have gotten an update from the supplier. I can click into it and I can go into the history of this product where I can see exactly who has changed what. And here we can see that the supplier E updated weight to 300, and I can now act on this information. Do I want to publish these changes or do I want to reject them? Okay, so those are 3 different ways of handling suppliers and their data updates. There are many more ways to handle supplier data, but these are 3 examples. And if you want to discuss this further, hear about other ways that customers of Bluestone PIM are handling supplier data, get in touch and we can have a chat.